Hi, Carol here. A warm welcome to my craft room. Well, look what I received from Amazon. I bought this so that I could do flesh colors, even though this is makeup application, on larger stamp sets. This has a really beautiful feathered applicator. The brushes on it are so soft, almost like the Clarity brushes. See how they just bend back? And I am going to use this for flesh tones on larger stamped images. I thought it would be wonderful. And if it doesn't work out, I'll just use it for my face. Yeah, I couldn't believe that I got them for, I think it was under $6 with the brush. And I thought, you know what? I will experiment with that. Now today's, and you can wipe it off like that. Today's video, I am going to use the Distress Oxides. And I put down there's one thing Distress Oxides can't do. The one thing that Distress Oxides can't do, and that is they can't disappoint you. No, they can't. I had so much fun using these. I took out my large Misty and I put a 6x6 inch card in there. It's 110 Neenah solar white cardstock. And I've got the Altenew Peony Bouquet stamp set, and I'm always remembering that this side of the stamped image, the point on it with the ruffles to the left, is the top portion. And I took one of my Distress inks here. I can't remember which one it was. I know it's not the worn lipstick, but I'll let you know in the description area what these were, and I put it down and I thought, okay, this is just a technique experiment background. So I'm going to show you all different ways to color on oxide inks. And one of the coloring mediums I'm going to use are the Prisma pencils and Gamsol. Well, what we're going to do is put some worn lipstick down. I'm going to put 2 layers, and it is just like using a wonderful liquid chalk. And it has the consistency of chalk, but it dries like the dye ink. What? Yes, it does. And I'm using the micro brushes. I always have these on hand because I color in with alcohol inks with these. And I thought, why not, if you don't, you know, the little areas that you miss when you use the stamp press or your acrylic block, if you're not using the Misty, I'm just showing you, you can take a micro brush and fix it all up. Another thing you can do with the micro brush is take the next color, which is Fired Brick, and I'm going to put it all the way along the sides of my first stamped image, the one that is all photopolymer. It's the first step in your stamping, in your 3-step stamping, and go across with the micro brush just like you were using a Copic marker. You can flick it out so that you get darker, longer lines, or you can just, what I'm doing, I'm just putting color on all the edges, and then I'm going to stamp it on this image so that I have a darker image on all the outside areas. Now this is just a suggestion for you if you like that look of having a shadow. And then with the micro brush you can pull it all out, and look at that. It looks like you've actually to shadow this. Hi! Yes, I love these inks. And did I tell you, I'm going to say it again, the one thing that these inks don't do, they don't frustrate you. There's another one. I'm going to tell you all the things that these don't do. And number 2 is they don't frustrate you because they're just so creamy and they dry so quickly that it's a wonderful stamp. Now, make sure that you wash your stamp off here because we're going to use Versamark. Oh yes, you're going to love this technique. I have a Hero Arts calligraphy stamp actually. It's on a block, and I'm going to take my Versamark, I'm going to put it all over there. All over the block, and then I'm going to stamp it right here onto this whole leaf image because it's just empty. It's like having a little empty canvas there, and you're going to get, I'm going to heat set it with white embossing powder, and you're going to get the look of shabby chic, vintage, right away. You're not going to have to do this. And not only that, it's going to look real cool because it's going to be on the flower only and not on the background like it usually is. So now let's stamp it off onto, yep, make sure your card is in the right spot. Now, right here, you want to see something funny. 1, 2, 3. I couldn't find my fourth magnet. I'll tell you where it jumped onto. My watch. Look at me looking for it. It jumped onto my watch on the front of it where where you can read the time. Thought I lost my mind. I couldn't believe, where could that magnet be? Anyway, that I found it later. So now we're going to get some white embossing powder. Excuse the band-aids. I thought I'd do colored band-aids for you today. That's where I burnt myself when my casserole dish was in the oven, and I didn't want to drop it because I didn't want to lose our dinner. Yeah, so I chose to burn my fingers instead. And dinner was delicious too, by the way. And so now look at that script underneath on the first. Yep. Hey, where are you going? Yes. We have calligraphy right on our image, and then we can proceed and put on our second and third stamp that goes over top. So I'm going to take my heat tool, I'm going to set this, and I love the fact that it has the shadows on the outside of the image. So many things you can do on photopolymer when it's a clear flat stamp like this. Now we're going to begin to stamp the next layer onto that, and I am using that gorgeous wilted violet, and we'll put that down in the middle. This is the second stage of the stamping with kind of like the feathered look, and it's right over top of the calligraphy. I think it looks awesome. I think it looks so good that it actually seeded and growing a flower just like it. Yes, it is 11 o'clock. I seem to be always editing at 11 at night. Doesn't that seem to be the way? Anywho, yes, so now we're going to put another layer, and we're going to use a darker ink. And on this one, I'm using the, I think it is the wilted violet, or I switched right over to the, I'm trying to think there, what did I do? The dark blue, the faded jeans. I think that was the faded jeans and the wilted violet, one before the other. And now we're going to work towards the leaf. And I really like this because I love this pistachio. Yes, the cracked pistachio. Look at it. Does that not look yummy? I thought it would be so nice this afternoon to just make a background stamped card using the bouquet, peony bouquet from Altenew, just to do techniques. So here we are, we're putting down the second stage of the three-stage stamping, and I want to use the Hero Arts. Yeah, I wish I could see that magnet is attached to the face of my watch, but because I just keep looking for it, it's rather pathetic I don't see that. But anywho, everything for your enjoyment, I say. Now I'm going to put some Versamark on the back of this Calligraphy Hero Art stamp. We're going to bring it over to the first stage stamping. That's the one with all of the photopolymer stamp there. And then I'm going to use the Recollections embossing powder, which is a bright green. And hey, excuse me, don't wash off my embossing powder. So here I heat set it quickly before my little doggy got at it, and I went in the same direction as the flower with the calligraphy. As you can see, the white comes across and then it follows right into the green leaf. I think it looks really shabby chic, really vintage, and I hope you'll use this technique on the next card that you have. I'm just heat setting it, and to get all different looks with the oxide inks. I mean, another thing these oxide inks don't do is they don't frustrate you, and they don't disappoint you. Yes, that's the second thing they don't do. You're always going to be happy with whatever technique you put out with them. They're rich and creamy and dry like a dye ink. You can't get any better than that. So here we go. We're going to stamp again because this is the third step stamping, and look at that. Ah, the shadows on, yeah, I'm going, is it dry? Is it dry? It was. Can you believe it? Oh yeah. I'm having so much fun here, and I know it's a long video, but I put out a lot of different coloring techniques for you today, and I had the afternoon to just relax and enjoy my Prisma pencils. So I thought, why not enjoy my Distress Oxide inks all at the same time on this 6x6 piece of Neenah White Solar 110 pound cardstock. Now I'm going to put down, this is the peeled paint. Yes. I think, no, it's the iced spruce, excuse me. It's the iced spruce, and then I put the peeled paint over top of that to get the second stage stamping. Or is it the second stamp staging? I'm not sure. But whatever it is, as long as you have, if you have 3 stamps, you start out with the one that has nothing on it, and then you build up. And then I realized something too after I was doing this. I didn't need the magnets. I enjoy working freehand. I enjoy moving the paper wherever I want to put my images. Now this was a stamped image of hearts. It was a solid heart image. And look at, I like moving it where I want to put things. This is the key. I figured that out while I was doing this. Why am I moving these magnets all over? When I know where this sheet is, I know where there's empty white space. So why not just put it down? Look how quick I can move. If I don't have to keep placing those crazy magnets all over. So I just wipe it down, take it off, set it down, move my cardstock, and I go in every direction I want. I move the paper in whatever direction I want to get a flower. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. I need some room to put my stamping on here. Thank you. I'm also going to show you a couple of techniques that you can do. Suppose you put a stamped image, like I have this outlined image of a flower, and you stamp it down, but you stamp it in the wrong area. Now, I'm going to stamp a few more leaves up here first, and then I'll show you. See how quick this is? Just place your stamp, and if you have a few vines, you don't need to place magnets all over them. Move your paper on your own, and move your stamps wherever you want them, as long as they're washed off right here. And grab them with your Misty Door, and then quickly put it on. Look at, that's literally almost as fast as I was doing it. And I put all of that on this side, all of the little leaf vines for now. And then I wanted to put a flower right there. And this is an outline flower, so you can see as I grab hold of it and put the ink on it, I'm going to set it there. And then one of the flowers, I decide I didn't like it where I had put it, but that looks pretty good. Now, I stamped this stamp down at the bottom, but it was too small for the space that I had. So I grabbed the second stage to that stamp and stamped it with the blue ink. Then I grabbed the third stage stamp and I went on with the orange, that gorgeous orange color there, and it's not the worn lipstick, but anyway, I don't have it right here beside me. And then I grabbed the small, there's 2 other flowers in that set, so I grabbed the center of the second flower and put it in there with the worn lipstick, and look how gorgeous, just not the first stage stamp, but the second, third, and fourth, how you can get it because it has that feathered look. I love the way the leaves wrap around the end of each other. It is so beautiful, almost like a seashell. So I'm putting down 2 colors here. I end up putting the peeled paint, and then over top I end up putting the walnut stain. And I do the same thing, but I use a different green on the next one. And I use the wonderful vintage photo. So I change up all the colors of greens using green and brown. Now in this peony bouquet set, there is a stamp that is an outline stamp of a flower, and I want to get a lot of those placed on my Misty. See that I don't use the magnets. I am moving my paper where I want, and saves you 80% of your time if you do it this way, especially for background stamping. Just move your paper where you need it and stamp away. And then I'm going to use my Gamsol and Prismacolor pencils to show you some coloring techniques that I enjoy that would look really nice with this Distress Oxide ink. Thought right here I needed to add some more wilted violet on it, so I am taking one of the stage stamps that is the second one, and I'm going to add some of that beautiful rich wilted violet over top of the orange colors that I have going on there, the orange and brown, and tone it down to match the flower that's next to it. Yes, isn't that beautiful? And when you see some of the techniques we add to the flowers with our Prisma pencils, I think you'll really like it. I'm going to take these gorgeous clarity brushes, and I'm going to just feather over the edges with the worn lipstick for now. I'm not sure what I'm going to do later on, so I thought, you know what, it's technique, right? All of this is coloring techniques, and we are using the beautiful Oxide inks, and they are amazing. And then I just go to the back and I stamp it with the wilted violet. I just turn over the clarity brush and I'm wisping on some of that beautiful color with the other side, and then all you have to do is spray it with some mist out of my mist water bottle and soak it up with my paper towel, and it becomes much, just as I was going to say, becomes much cleaner. No, it becomes wonderfully clean. But I thought first I would test it out by spraying it on the ink that I have on the mat and then painting it on the corners too. I just want to try every technique there is. All right, now on to the wonderful Prisma colors. I love Prisma pencils. So I always pick out 6 different colors, not necessarily in the color family. Here I'm starting with pink. I go into orange. I am going to take a deep violet. I take a salmon color. And here I'm grabbing my Gamsol, and I love working with the fine stumps. Thing about expressive paper, it's made for Copic coloring because the Copics will rest on top. It has kind of like this wax coating on it. And I really like it for Prisma pencils because when you use the Gamsol, because the Prisma is waxy, it's sitting on top of the expressive paper, and you're able to manipulate the color so beautifully. It just glides on there. So I make sure that I get my deep tones down in the bottom, working the way up, and then all my folds are deep. And I come back at least 3 or 4 times as I'm coloring. I do a section at a time, and I go in little wee circles, and if I want to bring out any highlights, I will just add them at any time. Here I'm adding the white to brighten it up, and I'm not finished with it. I do have to come back and color. I just set a base so I can see the dark tones that I'll come back to. So here is a really bright pink, a light pink, and look at there, I'm going back again. This is a navy, and this is also a navy. I'm coming back in. I love my pencils to be super, super sharp. Remembering that there are no set rules to coloring, especially with Prismacolors. The wax on them allows you, with the Gamsol, to move your colors and change your color tones to anything you want. And all I do is remember where my shadows are, and if it doesn't show me any shadows, I will create them. And I love to use crisp lines and a fine lines, keeping my pencils very sharp, and then going in and really moving it with the Gamsol if I want more of a smooth look, where it will take my colors and blend them together almost like they they weren't put on there one at a time. It just seems to make them just like a nice waxy surface. And here I'll show you with the pink. Then I go in with the dark pink on the edges. Then I come in with my navy. And then I'll come in with my deep navy. Sometimes you want to come in and you want to have the pencil show the lines that are on the actual petals. But if you take your stump and then you go across these beautiful oxide inks with the chalk, it leaves a beautiful texture, especially on the top and the bottom where your shadow lines would be. The stump works beautiful and it dries instantly. And if you run the stump on the sides of the inks, it gets nice and juicy. So I'm sharpening up with this file, and then I'm going to come in with my green. I'm trying to grab it from the side because there's a lot of juice on the sides of these pads. And then I do the leaves in 2 green colors, and one I use the super fine stump for the dark just to get up in the edges. Then I go back, and there you have it with your oxide inks. You can color with your stumps that you buy at Michael's or any artist shop. And now I'm going in with the blue. That looks really nice as a highlight. So distress inks look wonderful using them with your micro brushes or your stumps right here. And I'll do the same thing with the leaves. I am going to file it down to a nice point, and then I'm going to come in with different shades of green and blue from the distress inks. I'm using nothing but distress oxide inks here to add. Distress oxide inks will add a surface to it that gives you that 3D look. Then come in with your Prisma pencils, adding any kind of shades and tones you want to add to make them look gorgeous, of course. And here I will go back with the pencils, and then I'm going to shade it up just to break the leaf up into little sections with the sharp pencils. And I'll move around many times experimenting with the Distress Oxide inks with the stumps and with the micro brushes to get that layered look. And now I'm coming in with white. I will bring a white pencil in so that I can make sharp edges with a darker color. That also helps to get that fluffy look of a leaf. It almost looks like a feather. And with mixed media style like I'm doing here, anything goes. I just love it. And then I'm going around to give it some sunlight, just as if the sun was shining down on all of these images. I will add quite a few yellow and orange in there. Now I wanted this to be a butterfly facing sideways, and I'll show you what I do to get that effect. I already had stamped the orange, and oh, hello, and I stamped other colors in there, but I want to deepen them up. So I'm adding 3 shades of burgundy, 3 shades of a deep blue, light blue, yellow here. I'm using that beautiful salmon orange color, and I am going to I want it to look like there are a lot of colors underneath colors, and underneath those colors I'm adding the antennae on the side, and look what we have just from that half a flower that we put on the side. We made a butterfly, and I think he's so cute. Now I'll go and I'll color in with 2 shades of green on these leaves, leaving some of them blank so it has a little bit of white space. And we're carrying on. I think it's starting to look really nice. So I'm just going to show you some different, I was matching up my pencil with that the big flower there. So I'm going in with some, going round and round and round, softening up this flower. I'm going to show you the difference of making these a three-tone flower. So I'm taking the dark, the light, and I always put a real deep, deep, deep color in there, and a gray. If I'm working with burgundies, I'd like to add the gray. The one thing I like to do when I'm coloring, especially with Prisma pencils, I like to go back. I like to take the colors that I used right here previously in this flower, and I like to go back and make sure that it has a real wow factor, that each petal, here I left this one to show you. We started out with the pink, and then I go in with the shade of navy on the corners only, just to give it some, so it stands out. And then I'll go in with a deep, deep, different burgundy actually. And then I'll center it with the orange. Then I'll come in with the deep red on the bottom, and I'm going to make this darker because it is underneath the petals, and I do like a few leaves to just be so bright and vivid. And then I'll get in all the corners with my either a black pencil. I'm not afraid to use the black as long as I cover it with another shade when I'm finished. And I want the underneath where the sun isn't hitting it to be quite dark. And then I'll go back on the leaves. I'm going to add some yellow throughout all of it where I feel the sun would hit it. And I love to, like I said, I will use any colors. It doesn't matter. I am not afraid of colors. I'm going to go in and I'm going to test everything out. So here I'm taking the violet that we already have in there. I have black, and I am going to make this look like almost like a pussy willow effect. And then I'm going to come back in and see how I jump from one thing to another. I get this idea over here. I want to darken up all the tips of this flower because I have an idea to go and do another technique on the inside of this card. So I'm going to need to shade the outside. I want this card to really stand out, and it was losing something just sitting there with the stamp alone. So I took my, I'm switching from black to navy, from black to navy, and that will allow me so I don't get some really black lines in there. And then where I need to shade some areas out, I will do that with just some flickering touches. I like to take a look, like I like to stand back and take a look and think what more could I add to give texture and color. And I love to add depth. That's another thing. So I am taking some of the oxide ink with a stump, and I'm going to add it just to the tips of the leaves. And it's like showered roses. It's just gorgeous. Now let's go in with, I stamped this with the faded jeans. So I'm going to use the only three colors I think here. The yellow on the bottom, the blue, the royal blue on the top, and I'm sure I'd take a burgundy, kind of like a violet purple there. And I will use pressure on this to get the color I want to achieve. I'll do the light on the top, and where I want it dark, I'll add more pressure. And pressure coloring is a wonderful technique, especially with Gamsol, because I can take the Gamsol and move my dark tones right down into the light tones, and it will add actual veins. You'll see veins come down. I'm grabbing the pigment from the deep, deep color, and I'm moving it with the Gamsol into the light, and as I grab the pigment, it will make these veritable shades of lines that actually look like the veins in your flower petals, which is amazing. Watch here when we go over it. Your there's not going to be any seams to your flowers when you do it with the Gamsol, because you're going to move around the color. You're going to darken it, you're going to lighten it where you feel it needs to be lightened. And the one thing about flowers, there's no set color to flowers. They're all God's creation, and He created them to be unique. And so when you go to color them, don't think, oh, well, what color is this flower? You make it whatever pretty color you would like. And I am sure that you will find one of these out in nature, because flowers are one of the most beautiful um, elements that God created for us to enjoy. There's nothing sweeter than coloring flowers, because you can't make a mistake. You can't make a mistake. It doesn't matter what colors you put on there, that flower is going to come alive. Trust you me. And look at how each individual flower is so unique. It has contrast, depth. It has all the gradients that seem to be in the right spot. It has movement, all the little elements. And in this flower, I want it to look like feathers. I want it to have that beautiful, airy, wispy look, just like the leaves look. And you get that by adding flicks of color, any colors that match what you have in there. And I think those petals look beautiful, because this is, you don't have a background stamp behind here to give it that flat look. All you're using is the second, third stamps. Now here I took the back of my pen, my stump. It has a round part that's all kind of mushed in, and I stuck it in the distress ink. You'll see me here. I'm making circles. See them, the orange ones? I'm actually making circles with the stump ends, and this is going to give me texture. I'm using two colors, the orange and the green. I can wipe it off, and it's just like getting a sweet gift when you do this, because you're creating it. And here I have this silicone spatula, and I'm running it through the Distress Oxides to make a sun come out. I'm using the yellow, and then on the side of the spatula I'm going to take the orange, and I'm going right here. I'm just it's a little red spatula, and it's bendable, and I'm just taking the edges, and I'm making beautiful rays of sun in the corner. I mean, you can use these oxide inks for just about anything. Don't be afraid to experiment with things. I'm going to use the back of my Prisma pencil after I take the applicator, and I'm just going to smush some color into the top there, just so it looks like a ray of sunlight. I am just practicing on here. And now I'm going to take the blue, and I'm going to pounce the back of my, this one is not my pencil. I'm pouncing the end of the stump, because it's all bent up and I get these odd shaped circles. So I like that. And look at that. Now I move down to the bottom and I wanted to get this beautiful flower to look like wheat. The yellow, it's already in, the shape is inside the pink Distress Oxide. So I'm going to have to, I'll have the shade of yellow and pink. Now I'm taking that really nice deep orange. It's got an orange brown to it. And I'm going around here. And once I add the Gamsol, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? It pushes the depth into the right areas. It pushes the dark tones where they need to be. And I just think coloring flowers is wonderful. I'll add some gray up in the top, just so that the tips of the flowers look a little aged, and they look more realistic, like the sun has kind of put some heat to them here. And my imagination goes wild when I color. I tell you, there's no sweeter, restful, creative, fun. that you can have is to take any coloring medium and just, in my case I was standing, but to just enjoy the process of working with color, inventing color, uh, inventing textures. Love textures. I love to put 6 to 8 colors down, lift them, and then add more, and lift them and add more. It's wonderful. I just think it's wonderful. So here, as you can see, I've added 2 colors. I'm pushing them around, and I'm going to add 4 different tones of green. And then I'm going to come in because I want to see where I'm going to need to have my shadows. But first I have to push these colors out with my, this is a gray. I love to use gray when I use any shades of blue. And then when I use my Gamsol, here's a bright, almost a white color blue. Isn't that pretty? And you have to remember which petals sit where, and to where to darken them up. And then you can wisp them down at the bottom here. I'm just making some leaves, and you can make them look really light. Here I'm adding a bright green. Doesn't that make a difference in the flower? I know I'm moving quite fast, but it would have taken a lot more time than 45 minutes. If I had, like I said, it was almost 5 hours today. I was coloring and experimenting with this background, but it was so relaxing. And I love to make folds. I would love to make new folds in cards. I like to add textures. Like, see that flower? It looks just like that leaf. And then I just took paper to ink, or ink to paper here. And I'm going to work with that ink because I want to add some texture with colored pencils inside there. Now here we go on the bottom. I thought we needed a red colored flower. I mean a bright red. See what we can create at the bottom here. I should have pushed this card up a bit so you could see it. Come on, Carol. So I'm going to add some oranges. Yes, with my red. Oh, here we go. I'm going to add some bright pink. And once I get my undertone on there, I'll work with what colors I feel look kind of, I think it's a salmon red I wanted to get on this one. And I like to work one petal at a time, just experimenting just to see, okay, should I go, then I add the white, bringing it together. And then I grab the Gamsol. And I'm going to make this a soft petal flower, so pretty. It's not going to have a lot of edges on it. And then I'll go back and I'll work some of the leaves and see how much. I have that little flower right there I have to create, so I thought I would do it in the oranges because the orange is on the other corner. So I grabbed some gold, yellow, and orange, and yeah, it's almost like creamsicle. And then I'm going to take my black and my navy, and I'm going to go over it, grab my reds so that I don't take out the lines there. I want to keep the lines, and I want to keep the sun-kissed areas there, so I'm going to put some more lines in here. I love those lines that you see, the veins on flowers. I think they look so real. And then I'll come down here with another shade. I think there's about 5 shades of colors in just this little flower here. Make sure that you brighten up the edges where the sun would come down and kiss those petals. Add some bright leaves. I'm really happy with this one. And getting the roundness too is really important on your petals. But when you do color, look at each petal individually. Don't look at the whole flower at once. Do one petal at a time, and then you can go back and fix up the whole flower. So right here, I knew I needed to put down the second stage stamping with deep, deep color. And I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to put that purple, that, excuse me, the blue. I'm going to use that blue color here. It's kind of a bright blue, but it did need some color popping out of there. And I wanted to use the oxidings as much as possible. Isn't that pretty? Just added so much just by adding that little piece there. And I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'll tell you in just a minute. Oh yes, I want to die cut this. I had this little edge stitching die. I'm going to run it through my Big Shot Pro. This die set cuts out an entire card with all of these elements. It's wonderful. It's it has so much in it, but I just wanted the edges. And I wanted to do some stenciling. But before I can do the stenciling here, I love all the different colors. And this is a technique card. I just wanted to show you a bunch of techniques you could use for your Distress Oxide inks and your Prisma and Gamsol. I hope you enjoyed the process there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get out my masking fluid, and I'll tell you the name of it here. I'm going to go over every one of these flowers and leaves with the Molotow. That's what it is. And whatever you color, when you take it off, it is going to show through. So if you go over the edge, you're going to have some white cardstock. So you just kind of come up to the edge of your flower. And you can see how this took a little bit of time. You want to squirt out just the right amount. And I will go over every single little colored area here. And then I'm going to mix up the oxide inks with some clear paste and put it over this stencil. So it's going to be stencil paste in the clear, and it's going to go over top of the Molotow masking fluid, so that all we have to do is take the fluid off when we're finished. And look at that. Some of it bubbled up, but that's okay. Oh, excuse me, you're walking on it. Excuse me. I thought that was so cute. Now it's covered. So we are going, I actually waited a little while, and then I got impatient and I took the heat tool to it. And yeah, some areas are thicker than others, so I did have to wait. Yes, the Molotow comes in a little bottle and a large one like that. And yes, it does dry quick if you put a thin layer, but you can see on that big one it was going to take a while to dry, so I thought I'd just show you a little bit of it. The ones that did dry, I'll do the technique, and then I'll leave the other ones till later, and then I'll make a card with it. Yeah, here we go. So I put down I put down that gorgeous turquoise and the purple and the blue. And here I'm mixing up the blue with my texture paste, and it's almost like a clear texture paste. It has a little bit of white in there, but you can see it there. Then I mix up the purple and I put some of that on there. I'm trying not to hit the areas where the Molotow is wet, but I did want you to see how sweet it was to take this ink and mix it with any type of paste. You can use the clear paste, you can use the gel, whatever, to add beautiful color that matches all of the colors that we use. Yeah, like these colors right here. And it looks stunning. So I wasn't able to continue and finish this because those large areas just weren't dry, and I didn't want to risk lifting up any of the paper underneath. But I dried as much as I could here, and so that I could show you can use one of those rubber erasers that takes the Molotow off perfectly. And I will take off a few of the flower images. Thank you so much for joining me for this long tutorial, but I wanted to do some techniques. I wanted to use my Distress Oxide inks in different ways. Here I'm taking it up. Look how beautiful it comes off. And then you have all of that texture. Thank you for subscribing, your comments, and giving me your thumbs up. That helps me on my YouTube channel to be seen. And I look forward to the next coloring tutorial. And thank you so much. Have a blessed weekend, my friends.